Hi everyone, it's Eileen from Now There's a Crafty Idea, and I'm just here. I've had a few viewers have requested to do a cluster video, so this is my clusters. So this is the last batch that I made, and as you can see I've got some long ones that I use on the edge of pages or on envelopes and things, and then I've got all these lovely little ones, and some of them have got focal points like this lovely piece of fabric with a stamp on it, or this one. Some of them have just got little bits of fabric or card. This one is the blanket of a die cut that I was using, so that's the actual focal point. You don't have to have a focal point, and it's always good to have a few that don't, because you can add a focal point in when you decide what book that you want to put them in, or in which way you want to use them. You can always add a little flower or something. So I always make a variety of both, some with, some without. And I've got quite a few different ways I make them. Sometimes I'll just sit on a night. I've got a big massive box, and I mean massive box full of bits and pieces. Now they are just little odds and ends, snippets, bits of fabric, bits of paper, bits of scrapbook paper, everything that I've been using, because I never throw anything away. Only the tiniest little bits of stuff do I throw away, because I think, you know, that could come in useful. So this one's just bits of fabric layered up with a nice little image of a moth that I cut out of a book, and then I'll just sit on a night with a bucket full of the bits and pieces, and I'll sit with some paper clips. I've got my paper clips handy, and I'll just sit and put them together, and that way, you know, if you're sitting watching something, you're not thinking too much about it, and that's a good thing with these snippets, because I think if you tend to think too much about it, overthinking it makes them complicated. If you're just chucking them together, then that works out better. And if you're only paper clipping them, getting ready to sew them, then you can always pull them apart if you really don't like them. So that's one of my nighttime activities when I'm sitting watching TV. And this is another way I do them. So I've always got strips of paper like this that I've cut off the end of something, especially if I'm making a small journal, or if I'm making something out of coffee dyed paper or book paper, and I end up with strips of paper. And so I use them like this, and what I do is I use them in two different ways. So this one has got 3 different clusters on it, so I'll just put, you know, I'll just arrange 3 different clusters on it, and then sew down the whole thing, and then you just tear it apart. And that's a quick way of doing the clusters. I think Rachel from Roxy Creations, she'll start off with a big A4 sheet, and she'll put loads of clusters on one sheet, and she'll do the same thing. She'll just sew around it, and then she'll tear it all apart. It's the same thing, but I'm just using up my scraps, because the coffee dyed paper makes great bases for your clusters. And there you can see there's another one. This one I've put focal points on, which are these lovely little butterflies. This one's just got bits of starry ribbon on, because then I can always add something to that if I want to, or the ribbon itself is a lovely focal point. So I'm going to show you how I sew those in a minute. And then there's these ones, and now these are using the same thing. They're just those long strips of paper, as you can see, and then I just make the long clusters, and that's how I get the ones that go on the edge of the page, like this one. And it doesn't matter how long you make them, as long as they're not too long for your page. And because I'm using these are offcuts from the A4 coffee dyed paper, I know that they're not going to be too long, because by the time I've torn that edge off and torn the bottom edge off, they're just going to be the right size. So that's one way of doing them. And another way of doing them, just sit and putting them together. But when it comes to putting them together, you know, it's whatever works for you. And I've always got huge amounts, and I'm going to go through both methods. I've got huge amounts of things. I'm going to show you some of the things. These are the coffee dyed paper. These are I tend to use a lot of vintage children's books, and I use them for the pictures, because the pictures are beautiful, but then you're left with this lovely text, and the colour of the paper, I don't know if you can see that, they're like a peachy colour, and then you've got some of the the titles and a little bit of the image, and they're just so beautiful, and why throw them away when you can use them for clusters? So I use them probably the same way I use them, or I will just tear them into small bits, and then that way I've got plenty to make little ones. Any bits of music paper, see how I've torn that one into small pieces. Even this, now a lot of people would throw that away. I tell you, I'm absolutely I cannot throw things away. But if you saw that peeking out of the edge of your cluster, say, I don't know, let's quickly put something over it, that's still pretty, you know. And the vintage paper, all of my music paper is vintage paper, and why throw that away? It's spent years getting the perfect patina and age and colour on it. You know, you're not going to throw that away. Or is it just me? And then of course little bits of book page, because you know, I've always got loads of vintage book page, and you've got to be a little bit careful which books you're working with, because you know, sometimes there can be not very nice words on them. But I tend to only work with safe for work books, shall we say. And then this is just a scraps out of an old stamp book. All beautiful bits of paper, and you don't want to throw them out, so this is a great use for them. Bits of old coffee dyed paper. Here's the little book pages from the children's books. So you can see, you know, there's a variety of things. This is some of the fabric that I've stamped on. I've shown you this, I think, in a previous video, and I've just used me stamps and some ink and stamped them. These tickets I get in a local shop where I buy my vintage linens and fabrics, laces, my antique lace and things, and these are the sales tickets that come with them. As you can see, they've got the prices on, and they're such a pretty ticket. Why waste them? Put them in a cluster. And then just a little stack of just little odds and ends of fabric that I've ended up with. You know, just, we've all got a little box of scraps that you don't want to get rid of. So I've got over here, I've got a few bits and pieces. So this is just an old book, and it's an old dictionary book. It was just one of the pocket ones, and that's just perfect. I mean, look at that. You tear that like that, and there you've got the base for two nice snippets. Two nice clusters. So little bits of book. This is an old Edith Holden page. I'm not going to throw Edith Holden away, not when you can tear it and make it into a cluster. Again, with the old children's books, you can see here where I've torn out certain words, and then on the other side it's got the lovely colours, and this is from a 70s book, and it's just, you know, Edith Holden again. This is the dust sheet off an old book, and it was very aged and beautiful, and I thought, I'm not going to waste that. Look at that lovely pattern, it's gorgeous. I think I have a problem, people. The edges off old book pages, bits of scrapbook paper. Again, another old book that I couldn't use the cover for because it was just a card cover, but that's lovely. You know, bits of old wallpaper, and again, just coffee dyed paper. And this is a wallpaper sample that a friend of mine, she was decorating, and it looks a bit overpowering like that, but when you put it into a little snippet like that, it's just a piece like that, it's going to look lovely, the colours. So let's get started. We've got a bunch of things that we can use. I want to keep those out. Oh yeah, and this, it was just a cover off a book that I bought with lots of there were these little scenes, and there were what do you call it, decoupage, where you build them up, and I like the imagery in it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to throw that away, because if you tear this right, you can't see that that's come from the front of a book, and that could be, you could use that for your snippets. So yeah, you can use anything at all, anything. Everybody's got scraps. Every time you're making something, if you get a scrap of paper and you go to throw it out, just think, ah, no, I'll keep that. because I'm going to make some clusters. So okay, let's get started. So I'm just going to put a couple of these down here. I'll show you this method and then I'll show you my other method. Let's see, what else do we have? Well, there's one of the children's book pages. So we'll move these others out the way. And let's just get started. Let's just start laying some bits down. So all I'm going to do is just go and put a few bases down first. Let's see. I want a bigger piece. There we go. You can see I'm not being very precious how I'm placing them. I'm just dropping them down. I'm not going to be too careful with them. I'm just going to... This one I think I might make into a long one. So I might change that one. And because it's got this lovely image here, what I'm going to do is... just don't throw them away because you can use it. You see, I have a problem. And then we're just going to tear that off. And there you're keeping that lovely image. And then you've got this part. And then what we can add to that is a nice piece of fabric. Let's just cut this down just a touch. There we go. Actually, I might turn that upside down so that I can see the music. And then we'll cover up the words. And there we are. We've got one almost done snippet. I'll come back to that. Let's carry on with this one. Let's get some bits and pieces. Like I say, I'm not going to be precious about it. I'm just going to lay them down. When you look back, when you finish laying your pieces down, you can look at it and think, well, that doesn't look right there, or I don't like that with that. But try not to be too precious, because it just, I think it takes away from the overall effect. And we've got that tiny little bit of fabric. Let's chuck that on there. And I like this, so I want that on there. Let's see. Got one of our vintage tags that could go behind there. I'm going to put it on an angle. There we are. Excuse me. Let's get some of this vintage book paper, because I like the aging around this. And then this one just needs, there we go, perfect. Let's have a look at these. We've got some bits and pieces. Now this is from a children's page, but I love the colours on it. So there we go. It's just, I'm taking off the straight edges. I hope that you can see what I'm doing. Sorry, I'm not even in shot properly, am I? You don't have to take off the square edges, it's up to you. Whatever you want. And then let's see, what do we have? I've got a little piece of fabric there, and if I move that up a little bit, that's a bit too big. Let's try this one. Actually, I want to put that, I'm just going to take that straight edge off, put that there, and let's see, what else do we have? You don't have to put fabric on if you don't want to. Again, it's a personal choice. And I tend to put about 4 or 5 pieces on. I mean, 3 pieces is fine, but you know, if you want to really give it a bit of depth, you want about 4 or 5 pieces on. So let's have a look and see how we're doing. I'm happy with this one. This one I'm going to put some focal points on. So I've just got a few little pieces on the side that I've got out of a couple of books, and I'm just gonna see what we've got. That one would look nice there. I don't think I want a tree. Oh, that would be nice there, wouldn't it? Yes, I like that. What are you, little one? That would look quite sweet in the middle of that fabric. There we go. Not being precious at all, because the more precious you are, the harder it becomes. Oh, we've got this lovely little one here that I like. I'm going to pop you there. Right, so that's them done. I'm loving this now. This one looks finished to me. These ones look quite finished and I'm quite happy with them. So now we're going to go to our paper clips. Now this can be a bit awkward, which is why I've oh, I haven't got any left, but I did have the clamps on the other ones, because sometimes if you know, depending on the depth of your piece, you might not get the whole thing in one paper clip. I'm just going to chuck a paper clip on. It doesn't have to keep it absolutely steady. I am literally just wanting to keep it so that I can pop it onto the sewing machine. And so let's just try and get that fabric as well. There we go. Like I say, I'm not being very precious with it. Sometimes I think you can be too precious. There we are. See, that one's done. That one's ready to go. And yes, there's a little expanse here, but that's fine. I don't mind that. It's going to give us an end to our... Oops, that one's fell off. So let's get these ones on. This one, I feel it could do with something else, couldn't it? It could do with something else. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, that's done it. That's it. That's the one. I don't know if you can hear the lovely birds singing outside. Oh, I just love this time of the evening. I'm filming on an evening. It's been a mad busy day. It's VE Day here, Victory in Europe Day. So we've done our 2-minute silence, and you know, we're trying to celebrate all those who fought for us in the war and all those who didn't come home. So yeah, we've had a little day of reminiscing. So, oh, that one I didn't even attach that. There we go. There we are. So that's 2 done. And now this one, because I've staggered it that way, this one I really should use the clamps on, but as you can see, I've run out. So I'm just going to place a few different paper clips on, just to try and make sure that we get it secured. And I'm just going to, yeah, see, there we go. I didn't get the back of it done. There we are. Just a bit of patience and you can manipulate things and get them which way you want before you start sewing, so that's fine. Right, I'm going to put one more on, and I think one more should do that. Let's just see if I can get it on. There we are. Right, so that's secured now, ready for sewing. Now with this one, I will sew it up here, but I will also come back down, I think, so it'll be sewn in 2 places, just because I have staggered things across, and as you can see, the fabric is out over the side. So that's that way. So I'm going to pop them on a pile of things to sew. Now the other way I do it is just randomly, I'll just, on a night, I'll just sit, I'll have about 3 going at a time. I just like to pop things together. I usually sit with a little tray on me knee, and I just sit and put bits and pieces together. Pop that there. There we are. This is from an old book. I'll take that straight edge off. I don't like it, but I do like that writing. And have we run out of music paper? We've got a tiny little corner there. And let's have a look. Maybe we will put, look at that, nice little teacup set. Perfect. When I'm happy with it, I'll just stick a paper clip on in whatever part I feel like I can get hold of everything. There we go, done. And then this one I'm quite happy with. Let's see if I can pick the whole thing up. I quite like that it's not very heavy on colour. It's quite neutral, which means that when I use it on a book page, I can use it on quite a neutral piece. So that one's done. This one just needs something. Let's see, where did I put that dictionary? Right, let's get a bit of this dictionary paper. I don't want to lose too much around the edge of this because the aging on it is so gorgeous. I'll just pop that there. It says credulity. What does it say on the other side? Creed. Okay. Because I'm going to cover it anyway, so. And then I think I might pop. There we go. Now that looks great. So I will just sit and make a load of these in one go. And then just sit down on the sewing machine and pop them together. So let's see what else we've got. Let's use some of our lovely scrapbook paper. I'm just going to take the edges off, just because I want to do this a little bit raggedy. Now this one, because I've got the width on it, I'm going to make it in, it'll become a tuck spot. So when I put it on the page, you'll be able to tuck bits and pieces into it. So let's see, we want a little bit of length on this one. What fabrics do we have? We have this lovely green, but that needs cutting down a little bit. Oh, I tell you what, we've got that, and I love that. That's lovely. You can see where that's been sewn to something and it's been took apart, and I quite like that. I wonder if we could just if I sew along that, if I put it that way and then do the sewing along that, it'll keep it all nice, and then it's got a nice fringe on that side. Yeah, I like that. Let's see what else we've got in the way of fabric. I'm just going to bring some fabrics over. I quite like this because I like the two roses if I can get it on. So let's cut that into a strip, and again, all these little bits that I'm cutting off, they're not going to go in the bin because they can be used for other clusters. So let's pop that on there like that. I like that. And then that gives you the two lovely flowers, and then I might put just a little square of that quilting fabric there. I like that. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Maybe now that might look nice. Yeah, I like that. No, that's nice. Now once I've sewn that, that will be able to become a tuck spot because it's quite wide. So let's get that clipped on. It'll help if I got it the right way around, wouldn't it? And I'm going to just clip the top, try and capture everything. I think that's secure enough. Right, I'll pop that with the other things that we've got to sew. And these, as you can see how easy they are to put together. So that's them done. Now the other type of cluster I do is I use my die cuts. Now these I make into pockets. So if you've got any shape of die cut that's medium size, you know, the right size to go onto a page, then pop a few die cuts out. It doesn't matter if they're not perfect. As you can see, this one, some of the die hasn't come out, it hasn't cut properly. That's okay because we're going to make it into a pocket. And then, you know, we've got these nice ones and even some smaller ones. So I tell you what, let's do 4. Now for these ones I will structure them slightly differently because I'm making them into a pocket, so I have to decide which orientation I want them. These are square, so it doesn't matter. So I think these ones, that one will look nice across, so your pocket will be like this. This one you could have it glued down that way and it become a nice tuck spot that way. So I'm going to use some more of this. Where's that nice music one? And I've got that other one. So I'm just going to get some jagged edges going. Right, there we go. Okay, so what I want to do with these is I want to give them kind of a corner effect. So I want some length that way, I want some height that way, but I also want some width this way as well. So I tend to do these slightly differently, and I'm just going to tear down this. And because the pockets, you want cardstock. Paper's not going to hold it. You want cardstock for the backing, and that way, you know, you're going to have a sturdy pocket. Otherwise, if you use paper, when you're taking things in and out the pocket, it's not gonna hold up. So I've got that, and I'm going to pop that way. Now you see how I'm giving myself that angle, and that's perfect, because when I put this on the page, it's going to be on this. This will be against the spine of the book, and the pocket will be that way, and then that's giving you that kind of nice corner effect. So we've got that. Now what I will do, I do ink these, because these are a big piece of ephemera, and you know me, I can't not ink me ephemera. So I am going to ink these ones. This is the only time I'll ink a cluster, because normally I don't bother. But again, this is all personal choice, you know. You don't have to ink yours. You can just leave it. I like to ink mine. And these come in really handy to add that, again, that extra bit of interest when you're making a journal, especially if you're making one with a specific theme in mind. Sometimes having something totally not that theme kind of adds interest to your junk journal. So now let's see, I want something else going this way. I like that. Let's give that an ink up. And then it needs something behind it. It needs paper. It needs paper. Let's see. Now this is where things like this come in really handy. So I'm just going to tear around the edges of this. It's very, very delicate, so I'm trying not to tear the whole page, but it is very delicate. Right, okay, so if we pop that down, and then that there, yeah, now I'm loving that. That's really nice. I like that. Now with these, you can sew them, but you can also staple your clusters. You don't have to sew clusters. Quite often I'll staple them. So let's take this one for instance. Now this is even this is a fabric one. I'm going to staple it anyway, because not everybody has access to a sewing machine, and not everybody likes to use the sewing machine for paper. There you go, perfectly secured snippet, and you didn't have to sew it, and it's just lovely. Now you can glue that down on a page, on a piece of ephemera, and that's perfect. You can do the same with these, or you can sew them, and that again is a personal choice, because you've got to think, whatever you do, if you're going to use staples, you've got to think about it catching the paper behind, whereas if you sew it, it's a little smoother. So I'm going to sew that one. So let's again secure it. And if you've got some of the really big paper clips, that's even better, because that secures everything. But there you go, I'm quite happy with that one. Now let's do this one, and then we'll get on to do some sewing, and I'll show you how I sew them together, because even that, you know, there's little tips and tricks for that as well. Right, I don't think we will bother with these ones. We'll just do these two. You've got one going that way, I want this one going that way. So excuse me, I quite like this music paper, and I want to add some depth to this. So let's tear around this one quickly. This is such a lovely thing to do when you know, if this is one of the things that I turn to when I lose me crafting mojo. You know, when everybody has those days when you sit down in the craft room and you think, you know what, I just don't have it today. Then I'll grab all my scraps and I'll sit and do these, because I actually love just sitting doing these, and you can, it's quite relaxing, and it's still crafty, and it really brings your mojo back. And obviously you start to get more creative. You don't have to be creative to get started. You just start chucking things together, but then you'll find that you'll start placing things, and then you get your mojo back, and it's great. So let's choose a little bit more of this paper, because I do love it. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of, I might have the bottom of that showing just a little. and I want something to go down here now, so I need something with a bit of length. Let's see, what do we have? Let's have a look at these pages. I quite like the strong colour of this one. So if we take it from there, so it's this Poor Fella's Trousers I'm tearing. And then I'm going to just, excuse my phone going off in the background, folks. Just going to tear that edge off. Now if you look at that, now you couldn't tell that that was a chap's trousers, could you? It's just beautiful colours. So we're going to pop that in to give it some height. Now because this is such a pretty frame, I do want to give this a central focal point, because I want it to look like it's actually a nice picture. So let's see, what do we have? I'm just going to bring me bits and pieces over. That would look quite pretty. Oh, we've got some kitty cats. No, that's not the right thing, is it? Got some ladybugs. Let's have a look at those. You know, we could even have them poking out like that, and that looks like a pit. Yeah, loving it, loving it. I'm just going to tidy up some of the mess because I've just got mess everywhere. I tell you, this is just, it is a messy thing to do, but hey, so what? Right, I'm going to paper clip this, but I tell you what it is, I'm not going to be able to paper clip that middle piece. But these should hold that in if I paper clip both sides. Hopefully. That's the plan. And actually I will ink these. I wasn't going to ink them, but I will. Why not? I've inked everything else. And it will sort of help them to stand out against that white background. There we go. It needs to be over a little bit. Don't want to lose my ladybug. Need that to come over. See what I mean? You'll start to get funny about your placement. There we go. I like that. Right. Okay. So to the sewing. I just need to move all this rubbish out of your way because I've got stuff everywhere. You're not going to be able to see exactly what I'm doing with the sewing machine because obviously the way my camera is angled, it's very difficult. But I will explain as I'm going. So let's get all of our bits that we're going to sew. So first of all, our individual ones. So we've got our individual ones, and all I'm going to do is foot down to keep it in place, take away the paper clip, and I've got this on zigzag, so mind your ears, and I'm just going to zigzag it until I get almost to the end. And when I get almost to the end, I'm going to pick up another one, and I'm going to leave a little gap between them so that I can snip them apart, but I'm going to feed it into the sewing machine as it's still going. Now sometimes you've got to adjust because the fabric bunches up. I'm just going to take the paper clip out and then get my next one ready. Paper clip out, and your sewing machine will guide these through itself, you know. And then well, they're all the individual ones. Now I'm going to do the same with this. I'm just going to keep on feeding these on. Paper clip off, and then I'm just going to keep going all the way down this piece of paper. And when I get to the next paper clip, take it off. Just believe me, paper clips are not very good for your sewing machine. And I'll keep on going, and the next one, paper clip off. And then just keep going. And then of course I would keep on going and keep on going until I had like every one of them sewn. But I'm just going to stop and show you what that's done. You can see I've now got a string of clusters. And all I'm going to do is just snip them apart. There we go. can be a bit fiddly. And then with these ones, I'm just going to move Bertha. With these ones, I'm just going to tear the paper and then snip that thread. And see, you've got a nice little snippet. Do the same on this one, tear the paper. And if you pull gently, the stitch will come out enough for you to be able to snip it. And there you go. Our long strip has now turned into 3 individuals. So we'll put these aside and we'll do a couple more. And then I'm going to do these long ones as well. And I do all of them in exactly the same way. I am just going to continue to sew in a chain. So I'm just going to quickly individually sort them until I get them all right. Now this one, I want to keep that up so that I can get that off quickly. Right, and then I'll show you how I do these ones. I'm just going to move that. Right, okay, let's get Bertha back. Oh, I'm knocking everything out the way now. There we go. I'm not used to having Bertha on camera. You'll have to forgive me. Right, take the clip off, secure it, start sewing. And then next clip, and then the last clip. Now I'm going to get the next one. Now this is the one that I did the overhang on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sew everything. If I actually pull that a little bit over this way, and then hopefully we might get it all in. But you know what? If when you've sewn your clusters, you find that you haven't got everything sewn in perfectly, just put a dab of glue on it. And that way it'll still work, and you don't have to keep going back and back and back, sewing and sewing and sewing. Right, I'm just going to do one more of these because I want to show you again how easy they are. Take that clip off. You can use sewing pins with these if you want, folks, but if you're going to leave a hole in your paper, and I don't particularly, it's not something that I like to use because it can get very, plus it makes the paper bunch up a little bit, and when the paper bunches up it kind of doesn't sew properly. Right, okay, let's just get this one off. Right, I'm going to leave these. I'll do these off camera because I think you don't need to see me sort everything. So we'll just take that one off, and as you can see, I'll trim the ends off in a bit. I'm just going to move there for a minute. As you can see, even though that one's quite over, I still managed to secure everything, and that nice sari silk, and that's part of that book sleeve, and that's going to sit on the side of a page. And you can always just tear off that edge if you don't want straight edges. It's easy enough to do. There we go, perfect. And that'll be a lovely decoration. Now let's get these ones undone. Now this one that I wasn't sure of, yeah, that bit of fabric sticking out there, but I've managed to capture the rest of it, so I'm not going to bother that much about that. I can put a little bit of glue under it if I want to, but it's looking quite good. And this one as well, because of the size of it, you could use this as a nice tuck spot too. And then here's this one. We're going to do the same as we did with the last one. Just tear it, pull that stitch a little and snip. There we go. Just tear it, pull the stitch a little and snip. And that's as easy as that with those ones. So now let's look at our pocket ones. Now you can just do one line of stitching along there, and that's going to secure everything. So that's what I'll do with this one to show you how that works. And then you can see it's going to be quite secure enough to use as a pocket. Because I'm using scrapbooking paper, you can hear that my machine's not that happy. And I'm not bothering with back stitching or anything because I don't need it. Once it's glued on the page, it's going nowhere anyway. And as you can see, that one now, that'll make a lovely pocket on a page, and it's got the nice L shape that we want to give it that corner dimension. So let me see if I can find a page. There we go. This is only a little journal, so it's going to look too big, but as you can see, once you've got that on a page, it's going to be a lovely little pocket or tuck spot. So I'm giving away secrets now. You can see what I'm working on. And this one, because this is a standing up and we have got this lovely piece here, I'm going to go down here and across there, and then I can either leave all this as a tuck spot or I can secure it with glue. But I'm going to do an L-shape sewing on this one, so I'll show you how I'm doing that. So let's just get my sewing machine ready. Apologies for the focus. Now I'm just going to stop with the needle down. Let's make sure that needle's down. Take that last clip out, which I've got stuck on the paper now. Okay, how to manage that? There we go. And then just swizzle it round. And there we go, that's it. And you can see all I've done is I've stitched down and across. Now let's get one of our little tickets and I'm going to show you. So this can be a tuck spot on your page, and then you've got a tuck spot in there, and then you've even got a little tuck spot in there. So by doing the L shape, I've secured it enough so that you can tuck your bits in and they're not going anywhere. And the other one that we did, this will also work as a tuck spot, as you can see, and then this bit will work as a tuck spot for small bits of ephemera. So, you know, both ways are good, but if you wanted, you know, a little bit more security, then you need to do the L-shape stitch. So that's how I do those clusters, and they become pieces of ephemera. So I hope that you've enjoyed watching me do that, and that you've enjoyed the snippets. Get a bag full of bits of scraps of paper and fabric, sit with some paper clips, watch a good movie, listen to a good book, watch the world go by, sit in the garden with the birds, and just put your bits of clusters together. Try not to be too specific about it, just go with the flow, and then you can either staple them together or you can sew them together. I was going to show you, that was the last thing I was going to show you. So we're going to do the same thing. Here we go. So here's one of these strips, and all I'm going to do, because obviously not everybody has a sewing machine, I don't want to pull his antennae off. So, and it's as quick as this, folks. And then I'm just going to have to move that one. Right, there you go. Oh, let's get this off. There we are. And it's exactly the same thing, just tear it and then tear it, and if that's a bit long, tear it, keep that, because that'll be another cluster. And there you go, just a stapler. And you know, you don't need to do it with a sewing machine. And that was, how quick was that? If you're going to use a stapler, don't bother with the paper clips when you're putting them together. Just sit there with your stapler, and every time you put one together, just staple it. Put another one together, staple it. So yeah, there we go. That's how I do mine. Like I said, there are lots of different ways of doing them, and lots of people have lots of clever little bits and pieces, and you're probably seeing a better way than I'm showing you. This is just the way I do them. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that Bertha wasn't too loud for you. So take care, everybody. Make lots of clusters, and happy crafting. Bye.